Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a secret to building real wealth in 2026. And you know what? It isn't some flashy new crypto trick, it's not a trending investing app, and there is absolutely no thousands of dollars masterclass you need to buy. Honestly, it's way simpler than that. We're talking about recovering the totally forgotten, everyday customs of past generations. Seriously, the folks who are actually getting ahead right now, they are quietly bringing back these simple habits that the rest of society basically just wrote off as completely outdated. Let's see what they're doing.
Okay, let's dive into this with a number that, frankly, should make all of us pause for a second. $1.2 trillion. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, that is where total credit card balances in the U.S. hit in the third quarter of 2025. An all-time high. And to add a little more fuel to that fire, another Fed report showed a massive 15% spike in adults using buy now, pay later services over just a 3-year period. Look, this isn't just a string of bad luck across the population. It's a systemic issue. It's about financial habits that somehow just vanished between generations. We've essentially traded our financial security for checkout buttons disguised as convenience.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the contrast. Because if you dig into that same Fed study, you find this really interesting contradiction to the idea that everyone is just drowning in debt equally. Look at this. 62% of baby boomers who use buy now, pay later services actually sit down and calculate whether they can afford it first. They are literally the only generational group where that behavior is the majority. And hey, it's not like boomers are inherently more morally disciplined. Not at all. It's simply that they grew up practicing financial habits that the rest of us entirely stopped practicing.
So, how do we get those habits back? Well, here is our agenda. First, rethinking daily spending. Second, rules for big purchases. Third, protecting long-term wealth. And finally, a real-world scenario we're calling Daniel versus Alex. Don't worry, we are going to organize all these ancestral habits into highly actionable thematic steps so you can completely transform your relationship with money.
All right, Section 1, Rethinking Daily Spending, Mastering the Micro.
Because true wealth, it's not always about making massive, sweeping moves. It's about how we manage the micro. Those hundreds of tiny daily and weekly transactions that just quietly drain our accounts. So here are the first 4 habits you need to master. First up, use actual cash for your problem spending categories. It's like the old envelope system. See, when you pay with a card or an app, that money is invisible. It physically hurts less to part with, so your brain just lets you spend more. Using cash stops you cold when the envelope is empty. Second, cook at home 5 to 6 days a week. This totally eliminates those impulsive, emotionally driven food delivery orders that magically turn a $10 burger into a $30 mistake once the fees hit. Third, always shop with a written list. And fourth, take just 10 minutes a week, just 10 minutes, to sit down and review your accounts in writing. Writing it down forces you to take real, conscious ownership, which totally replaces that false illusion of control you get from just glancing at a banking app.
I actually want to camp out on that written list habit for a second because it is absolutely crucial. Behavioral research tells us that impulse purchases make up roughly 15 to 20% of a typical shopping trip. Think about that. Stores are literally engineered, down to the music tempo and the aisle layouts, to get you to buy more than you planned. So a written list isn't about restricting your fun, no way. It is a vital defense mechanism against a retail system strategically built to beat your willpower. You make your decisions at home with a clear head instead of in the aisle under the spell of marketing.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 2, Rules for Big Purchases, Assets, and Debt.
Shifting from those micro daily decisions to the macro habits, let's look at how we handle large assets and heavy liabilities. First on this list is a huge one. Buy a 2 to 3-year-old used car and pay it off in 2 years. Treating a car like it's an investment instead of a tool, that is a silent mistake that absolutely robs the middle class of wealth. A brand new car loses 20 to 30% of its value in year 1 alone. Please don't pay 7 years of interest on a depreciating rock. Next, avoid consumer debt for everyday expenses entirely. Just ask yourself, if I couldn't use installments, would I still buy this? If the answer is no, you don't need it. And lastly, save for big purchases instead of financing them. Financing immediately removes that natural wait-and-see filter. Saving up over a few months actually proves whether you truly want an item or if it was just a fleeting excitement.
Then there's the 50% repair rule. We live in this culture where if something breaks, a blender, a chair, your favorite jacket, we just click a button and replace it. But past generations, they fix things. So before you buy something new, really ask yourself, did it actually stop working or did it just stop exciting you? The rule is, if repairing costs less than half the price of replacing it, fix it. Replacing is almost always easier, for sure, but we urgently need to stop confusing easier with making a better financial decision.
So the crucial point is this. When making your absolute biggest purchase, your housing, you must live below what the bank says you're approved for. Remember, a bank calculates your maximum approval based on your current income, not your peace of mind. If you stretch your budget to the absolute limit they allow, you leave zero room for unexpected expenses or savings. Keeping your total housing payment, that's mortgage, insurance, and taxes combined, under 25 to 30% of your net take-home pay, that creates the exact breathing room past generations used to save up and actually enjoy their lives.
All right, on to Section 3, protecting your long-term wealth, the long game.
These are the habits you won't necessarily see working on a random Tuesday afternoon, but over decades, they quietly and steadily build an impenetrable fortress around your wealth. Let's look at 4 of these fortress-building habits. First, pay yourself first via automation. This is a century-old principle straight from the richest man in Babylon. Just set an automatic transfer to your savings on the exact day you get paid. Set it and forget it. Second, build tenure at one workplace. It is super trendy right now to job hop for a quick 10% raise, but people often totally ignore the massive loss of employer retirement matching or pension buildup when they jump ship. Third, contribute consistently to one retirement account. And fourth, teach your kids about money using real-world examples. Generational wealth isn't just about inheriting a pile of cash. It's about a kid watching their parents choose a purchase based on price and need rather than impulse. You are modeling generational intelligence.
Now, an incredibly important part of protecting that wealth is understanding the stark difference between your emergency fund and your investments. Blending these two accounts is incredibly dangerous. Our parents kept bank money entirely separate from investment money. Why? Because an emergency fund isn't meant to grow. It's meant to sit there and act as a liquid shield. Think about it. If you invest your emergency cash and suddenly your car breaks down while the market is crashing, you are forced to sell your investments at a major loss. Keep 3 to 6 months of cash completely separate to protect your long-term growth.
And speaking of that long-term growth, I've got to share this staggering data point from the Federal Reserve. Between 2019 and 2022, households nearing retirement age saw their combined average retirement balances grow from $144,000 to $244,000, almost $100,000 in 3 years. And you know what the secret was? It wasn't some brilliant complex market timing. Nope, it was just boring consistency. They just kept contributing every single month, letting time do the heavy lifting without pulling the money out or chasing better trends. Boring consistency beats a complicated strategy almost every single time.
Moving on to Section 4. The Blueprint in Action, Daniel versus Alex.
And this brilliantly illustrates everything we've been talking about today. Let's see exactly how these habits compound in the real world by comparing 2 individuals with identical incomes, Daniel and Alex. Both Daniel and Alex make exactly $70,000 a year. But look closely at their habits. Daniel, he finances a new car over 7 years, uses credit cards for emergencies, and leans heavy on buy now, pay later apps. Fast forward to age 50, and Daniel is still working out of absolute necessity. Now look at Alex. Earning that exact same $70,000, Alex paid off a reliable used car in 2 years, kept a separate cash emergency fund, and contributed consistently to his retirement. By age 50, Alex works by choice, not by force. The deciding factor for financial freedom wasn't their salary at all. It was entirely driven by their daily behavior.
Which brings us to the 15th, final, and honestly, most crucial habit of all. It's an identity test. Past generations prioritized what was functional over what looked good to the neighbors. Today, social media pressure forces us to flip that order upside down, spending first to look good, and then trying to save whatever tiny bit is left over. But the people who truly build wealth, they are the ones who prioritize function over image for years. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you make a purchase, stop and ask yourself, would you rather look rich now or actually be rich later? Take these forgotten